Welcome to For the Love of Lincoln County, a podcast where we bring you everything on leadership, entrepreneurship, and community impact. Presented by the Lincoln County Chamber of Commerce. I'm your host, Jamie Wright of Wright Insurance. We're coming to you from right here in Newark, Ohio.
Whether you're a job seeker or a business with staffing needs, Ohio Means Jobs Lincoln County is here for you. Our center is fully equipped and expertly staffed to help you with your employment and workforce needs. Stop in and see us at 998 East Main Street in Newark or call us at 740-670-8700.
Welcome back to For the Love of Lincoln County. I'm your host, Jamie Wright of Wright Insurance. And I just want to start with a Bible verse, 2 Timothy 1:7. For God has not given you a spirit of fear, but one of power, love, and sound judgment. And that's kind of where we pulled this month's topic from. Who better to join us than the one and only Jessame Fout, the Development Director for St. Vincent Haven. Welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm so
excited.
happy that you're here. Full disclosure, Jessame and I are really good friends, so this should be a really fun show. We call ourselves the Spiritual Gangster Sisters. I know her story pretty well, right? From the time that we met until now, how she overcame many fears, setbacks, and prayerful discernment to get where she is today. It has been a privilege to have a seat on your journey, friend.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I'm so happy that you're here. So I definitely want to get into the topic. You know, my thing is always to give people some tangible takeaways for every show, but this is going to be a really good one for one of those. I know a lot of people are dealing with fears right now, but just to give people some backstory, just tell us about the Haven, tell us about what you do, and tell us about why you're here. This is your chance to tell us your story.
All right. So the Haven is an emergency program-based shelter for homeless men in our community. So we do more than just give them a roof over their head and, a warm meal. We have a program that really helps them develop their life skills and make real changes in their lives. So I spend most of my days just cultivating relationships in the community because that is vital to our success. And then I get to sit across the table from these men that are suffering from poverty in ways that I didn't even know existed. So we are building relationships, encouraging each other. It is so much fun. I absolutely love it.
So when you say program, can you just enlighten us a little bit in terms of like what the program does?
Yeah, so we have case management officers who counsel our men. So they meet with them. We call them residents. They're really like our friends and family, but that's the term, residents. So they're conferencing with them weekly. We're building action plans for them, for their lives, because everybody's at different stages.
Yeah.
So what works for one doesn't work for the other. So we individualize these action plans, and then we work with them to achieve whatever that step is first. So whether that's going to get your driver's license, you need a social security card, and then we build a plan out from that. We're hoping to achieve housing, but we have recovery programs. We work with behavioral health and other, organizations within the community to get them the help that they need.
That's awesome. I love that when you said, like we're not all in the same place, which like everybody, like it's for everybody, but especially people that need those resources. So that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I know you're here today because you feel this strong conviction. Talk to us about that a little bit.
Yeah. So when you asked me to be a part of this, at first I was like, okay. But yes, I do. Because the topic of fear is a big thing for me in my life and a struggle that I feel like I have to overcome honestly daily. And I really believe in this calling that God's placed on my life to go out and do things like this, to speak and be genuine and just encourage others on their walk and on their journey in life. And so being able to be here, you just never know what God's going to do with this opportunity and how it's going to change someone's life or help someone that might need to hear just a simple word. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Well, so you and I obviously know each other from in the insurance world.
Oh, yes.
Yes. You totally changed careers, and it was really hard.
So hard.
It was really hard. I think a lot of people are probably thinking in these terms too, like whether you're thinking about a career change or a life change, and how difficult that it is and all of the fears that come along with that. I mean, you had to wait. You had to be prayerful, and you had to wait for a very long time. I mean, thanks for your courage to step forward and talk about this. Do you mind I know you're pretty vocal about this publicly, but do you mind to tell everybody the story of kind of what changed you that day that you looked into that man's eyes?
So it was actually a year ago yesterday, which is wild that we're doing this today.
See?
Yeah. So my husband talked me into doing this ministry. We call it City Streets through our church. And I thought he was crazy. But I'm so thankful for his yes to that ministry. So we literally just go out in the streets and we serve people a meal. And this particular time a year ago, I had been really challenged to go beyond just like serving the meal and just standing there and just scooping food on the plate, you know. And this gentleman came up, and there was just something about him. I just knew I had to talk to him. And so I asked him if I could pray for him, which was totally out of my comfort zone, because I can pray for you. I can pray in the church setting at my home, but to pray for a homeless person on the street that I didn't know, that was really hard and scary. But I knew that I had to do it. So I did, and I placed my hands on this man, and after the prayer, I opened my eyes, and he had this like tear streaming down his face, and then I just started weeping. Everything about me changed in that moment. It was like I saw Jesus in this man, and it just like wrecked me in a way that it's really hard to put into words, honestly, because it sounds kind of crazy. But from that moment on, I knew I had to do something else with my life, that God was calling me to something bigger, and that I needed to get out of the way and just go for it. And so I just started researching, and that's how I ended up at the Haven, as I found it. I didn't even know it existed at the time.
Oh, that's so good. You needed to get out of the way.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of what we're going to talk about here today, too, kind of how to get out of your own way.
Right.
I love it. I love it. Thanks for sharing that. I know that's super vulnerable. I know you're totally
love
comfortable
sharing.
with being vulnerable. So
many people have heard that story. They're probably like, oh, she's telling the story. But it changed my life. So I can't stop talking about it.
Well, that was your moment.
Yes.
That was the moment you were like, oh, okay, God, you have a calling for me. This is it.
That I never would have chose for myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's powerful. So, and I'm sure a lot of people listening, like they might have even had those moments, or they're waiting for those moments too. So they will happen. It's
worth the wait. It's so worth the wait.
I always tell everybody too, like if you put yourself out there for an opportunity, like it will find you.
Yep. It's true.
I want to get into the meat and potatoes of the show. Like I said, I want to give our audience some takeaways. We're going to discuss 5 ways to fight your fears. And these are going to be personal to you, but after reading these, like these are so good. So everybody grab a pen and a notepad. This is where I tell you to take notes. This one's going to be really good. Let's define fear first.
Yeah.
Do you want to define fear, or do you want me to define fear?
I think that it's different for everybody, though. Like, after I looked up the difference between fear and anxiety, like those two are like woven together for me. So fear, defined in the dictionary, is an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous, likely to cause pain or a threat.
Pain.
Yeah.
So, that's deep. I don't know if anybody's ever actually read the sentence. That's the actual definition. And then anxiety.
Yeah, so anxiety is more of like a feeling of worry, an uneasiness about like an event or something. That happens a lot for me. But I feel like those two are so weaved together because anxiety for me, in my world, is just a different level of fear. Fear is like the top tier, but anxiety is always what takes me to that top tier.
Well, so fear's the pain, but anxiety is avoiding the pain.
And it's the worry that the pain's going to come.
Right. So, okay, so now that we've defined them, first I want to ask you, what does God say about fear? Is fear a gift from God?
So, someone looked up the word fear not and how many times it is in the Bible. And it is in the Bible 365 times. Fear not, for I am with you. So to me, that tells us that, God is saying, fear not. So that means we have the tools to have a sound mind, to be powerful, and to overcome fear if he's telling us that. And I think it's important to point out, too, that there is a healthy side of fear. In a sense, there's a reverent fear that God talks about, when we're looking at like his authority over our lives and who he is to us. But then there's that other side of fear that comes from a place that's not godly, a place that steals your peace.
Right.
And so that is not from God. And we do have a choice. It sounds really simple, though it's not, to overcome that fear.
That's good. Fear is a God-given emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah. It teaches us about faith.
Yeah.
Faith in many different things.
For sure.
Right? It's a part of you, your humanity. I mean, sometimes you just got to embrace the fear. Right?
I have to. I did it on the way here. If we're being honest.
But once you said it, it's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good. Okay. So let's dive into the 5 ways that you fight fear. I think we need to first identify when we're talking in terms of taking notes, when we're talking about 5 ways to fight our fears, we need to identify our triggers.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we can combat the fears, we need to identify the triggers. What are some of your fear triggers?
Oh my gosh. So for me, there are so many. And it's really funny because a lot of people look at me in my life and they're like, you are so fearless, girl. You're just out there doing the thing. And I'm like, you have no idea the struggle that's like internally going on here. And I've been wired like that since I was a kid. So triggers for me, and they're going to be different for everybody.
Right.
And we'll talk about this in the 5 ways to fight your fear. Anything that is unknown, that is new, that is taking me outside of my orderly little box triggers me to feel that anxiety. And then my mind runs wild and I create things, or my imagination runs wild and I create things that necessarily aren't there, and it just goes. It just can snowball. So I would say change, new, the unknown are all triggers for me because I like control. Anytime that I cannot control the scenario, I am fearful. And that can be as simple as riding in the car with friends. If someone else wants to drive, I'm like,
really?
I hate that because if I need to escape, I can't.
Yeah. I think a lot of people have that fear.
Yeah.
That's an actual physical fear, right? Okay. So
that makes me feel seen. Thank you.
Right. See, there you go. Now, so I'm going to give everybody our inside joke.
Yeah, please do.
It's speaking of cars. So Jess and I were out to lunch one day, and she had not been to this particular location before, and I said something in terms of I had just gone somewhere or something, and I was like, I'd never been there before, and I had to look up on Google Maps, like the parking situation, and she was like, the veil came down.
I lost it.
Like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I looked up on Google Maps, had it like today, like, so the parking situation, like I am here and there and everywhere. Like I'm all the time somewhere.
Yep.
And that is a actual anxiety for me, fear, anxiety.
Yes.
It's a worry. Like when I go somewhere new, like I don't want to be late. I need 5 minutes to collect myself, right? I need to know the parking situation. So I will Google Map it. And I think a lot of people do this.
Scroll in, like zoom in so you can see exactly where you can park. If there's a parking garage, listen. I felt so seen. And I know that someone else listening right now is like, oh my goodness. I know we cannot be the only 2 people that do this.
There's no way.
I don't know if it's more like a woman thing because my husband, nothing like that bothers him. But for me, especially when I have to go to downtown Columbus to speak at an event or something, I'm like, am I going to have to parallel park?
Right.
We're going to do this beforehand, Google Maps. So
I know. It's part of it. So I think for us though, the worry is the pre-driving event, and maybe for him it's like when I get there I'll figure it out, I'll worry about it then, but for us it's a whole preparation thing. So Google Maps, it is your friend. It can be a way for you to fight your fears. Oh, so anytime you see one of us out, you're gonna look at us and be like, Google Maps.
Did she Google that?
Did she Google this?
Yeah,
I did. I did. Okay. So we've got 5 things written down here. I'm going to open it up. I just want you to talk about whatever it is in your heart. Okay. So these are the 5 ways that Jessame fights her fears. And I love them. They're so good. Number 1, pray. Give it to Jesus.
Yes. So I feel like I do have to preface this with like, I'm not an expert. I am just sharing what helps me, what works for me. So prayer is like non-negotiable. And I'm not talking about the type of prayer that like, you know, once a week you meet God and you have this prayer about, Lord, take away my fear. This is a constant, continuous conversation that I am having with him throughout every single day. And it's, you know, like when you look back at the difference between fear and anxiety, there are real fears. And then there are the worries and the anxieties. So your prayer is going to look different, you know, I guess, depending on what you're going through.
It's relative.
Yeah. But for me, like I have to call in his strength and I have to like talk it out. And so that is non-negotiable. That is something I'm doing continuously every single day.
The conversation. So it's like your intimate relationship with the Lord and how he helps you through.
And I'm putting it all out there. Yeah. I'm like, Lord, this sounds super silly, honest. But I don't know where the parking garage is in downtown Columbus. And I really need you to like give me the strength right now. Yeah. What do I need to do? Please take this from me. Replace it with your peace. Yeah. It can be small like that or big, but it's continuously having that conversation.
And I think it's important to point out in this sentence, okay, that it's not silly. So there's been so many times when I would pray and I'd say, you know what, that's silly. You know, if you can help me with this, then let me know how I can help somebody else with their, you know, I always felt like if I was going to take a withdrawal, then I had to make a deposit into my prayer bank. But that's really not necessarily true. Right. It's not a relationship like that.
You know, and if you are taking the Bible for what it says, I mean, God tells us that he cares about every single need that we have. I mean, he knows exactly what we're struggling with anyways. He knows the number of hairs that are on our head. So why would we hide those things in our prayer life with him? You know, he knows already. Like, just put it out there. He's your best friend. He's your father. He's your provider. And so openly talking about that and seeking his wisdom in those things is so important. Amen, it's crucial.
Sister. Surrendering is so hard.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. That's the
But
surrender.
once you learn how to do it, I mean, it's like something else that just becomes another skill.
Yeah.
You know, and
it
you
is
just gotta do
skill. It really is. The one that you have to practice.
Yes.
Honestly.
Yep.
Because there's so many times that I'll be like, all right, I give it to you, but wait a minute, I'm going to take just a little bit back.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So it is. So be prayerful. Number 2, learn about your fears to identify them.
Yeah. That's really important. It's really important to learn what your triggers are and what makes you fearful. Because if you're not learning, if you're not seeking the wisdom, how are you going to fight the fear?
Right.
You're not. It's going to consume you. So that's going to look different for everybody. But for me, I love journaling. Journaling is such a tool for me. I can journal, you know, if I have an event coming up, let's say that I am like terrified I have to speak at or I'm organizing, I'm going to journal out all these feelings and thoughts I have. And the key to this, though, is after the event, going back to my journal and writing all of the things down that happened at that event that were good.
Good. Yeah.
And all of the moments that I thought I was going to be fearful, what actually happened in those moments. So, you know, for instance, I was giving a speech and these crazy thoughts go through your mind. You know, what if I choke on my water? What if I blank out and don't remember what to say? So when I'm up there in that moment and I'm holding my pen, you know, to distract me from the fear and I'm just like turning it or your paperclip, whatever it is, I always have this peace. And I'm always careful to go back in my journal and write down that while I was speaking, I had the most peaceful heart. And that helps me because the next time I'm fearful and I go to journal, I'm going to look at that and I'm going to recount that and I'm going to remember God was with me. And it turned out awesome. So for me, that's a huge tool in just learning what thing was that stood out to me that made me fearful. It's just another way to identify those fears so I can take them down.
I've never gone back and written those the positives down. I've always just kind of closed the chapter, if you will. But listening to you, I think this would be a fantastic way to give yourself your energy back.
Yes.
You just depleted yourself of all of the energies that you had.
Gosh, yes.
This is a really great way to take care of that piece and give your energy back to yourself.
Yeah.
That's really good. Really good. Okay, so number 3, let yourself feel them. I think this is where people get stuck.
Oh my gosh. Okay, can we just take a moment because this is so important.
Yeah.
Especially for women, because we are told, sit up straight, don't show your fear, don't have emotions, whatever. You know, when you're in the boss babe world or whatever you want to call it, I don't know. I feel like I was always taught, like, you just have to be strong. You have to persevere and not show or feel the emotions. And that does not work for me.
Right.
Pushing those down and kind of just like pretending that they're not there makes it so much worse for me. It's chaotic. I cannot operate in that. So it is okay to say, this is making me fearful. I'm so anxious about this event that's coming up. You're praying it out, you're journaling it out, and you're letting yourself feel those, because depressing those emotions is not doing anybody any favors.
Well, it'll eventually come out.
Yeah.
Some way.
In some crazy way,
Right.
probably.
Maybe onto someone else.
You never know.
Right.
Projecting happens. So, yeah.
So when you let yourself feel them, what's one tool that you take out of your toolbox to let yourself feel? I mean, I know you mentioned journaling, but like...
I think I'm at the place now in my life where like it just happens naturally, because like I just know myself, and I know that I can't suppress that feeling or else I'll implode. So I think that'll look different for every person too. But even if it's talking to a friend, like, you're one of my people. I can send you a text and be like, girl. Like, this is happening. I'm feeling this. And it's friends like you who remind me that it's okay to feel what I'm feeling. You are really good at that, at saying, I feel that for you. And that makes me feel seen. And I'm like, okay, I'm okay. I'm allowed to feel this anxiety, this fear. I don't live there. There's a difference.
Right.
You're not going to sit and wallow in this and just sit idle. There's a difference, I feel like, that I need to point out. You can't just sit in the fear, but you feel it, and then you use the tools to move forward through the fear.
That's so good that you said that, and I want to put it in different terms. It is okay to seek permission to feel your feelings.
Yes.
Yeah. If you have to get permission, then that's okay. It's okay to get permission. I love that. That's really good. Number 4, harness your imagination.
This is the hardest one for me, but it's so important.
Okay, let's talk about it.
It might sound childish, but I have like this vivid imagination. I know I can't be alone, especially when it comes to fear. So I think about the craziest things. My mind takes me on a journey when I'm fearful and anxious. Like, let's talk about the dentist.
Let's talk about the dentist.
I have an irrational fear.
Really?
Of the dentist.
I didn't know that about you.
It's so bad. I feel like when I sit in the chair to have work done, that I am going to suffocate and die.
Yikes,
I'm
girl.
not kidding.
Oh my.
Like, it is crazy.
Maybe we need to find you a new dentist.
I have a wonderful dentist,
okay.
New York Dental Associates. You guys rock. But I had to take that like irrational fear. First of all, I had to find a dentist that understood me.
Yeah.
So I did that, and that helped. But and like when I go to the dentist, like I have to physically, intentionally use my imagination for good. And so instead of sitting in the chair going, I can't breathe right now, this is so hard, I'm going to, pass out because I'm so fearful right now, I have to take my mind on the journey elsewhere. I have to think, you are calm. You are full of peace right now. You are 41 years old and you can do this. It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
When you are done, your teeth are going to look amazing. I know that's a silly example, but I think it paints the picture.
Yeah,
you're taking your mind from all of these, and I don't want to say crazy. They do sound crazy when I say that, but they're real. Those are real thoughts, that I am fearful of. So I know people out there probably have irrational fears like that too, but you still have to work through them even though they're irrational. So harnessing your imagination for positive thinking instead of negative. And it's intentional. You have to be intentional about it to do it. And it's hard.
Yeah. Oh, girl. So one of the things that I do to harness my fearful imagination is when, like, a lot of mine comes out in the middle of the night, right? That's like when your subconscious is unwinding.
Yeah.
And you wake up and you're like, Lord, take these thoughts away from me. I will plan my meals. Like
So you
I'm like
redirect
cooking,
your focus.
I'm cooking in my head, or I will literally open up the Costco app and go shopping. It's like a way to like regulate your senses.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, there's definitely tools. There you go. Costco app. Picture yourself cooking. We're trying to get back to sleep, and it usually works.
Yeah.
But those are some tools. So here's the other thing too. When we talk about your imagination, I learned it's not so much the fear itself, maybe not the dentist. Okay. I'm not talking about, I guess I could be generalized talking about physical fears, but it's not so much the fear itself, like the thing. It's people's perception of my failure.
Yes.
That gets me.
It's huge.
Right?
Yep.
Take that out.
Right.
Nobody cares.
Right.
They don't.
It's true.
I mean, that should not be a part of your decision making.
And we do that to ourselves.
We do.
We are doing that to ourselves.
So that's when we're talking about harnessing this imagination. We have to take out the perception that you have of other people's perception of you. There's what is, there's what you think, and then there's what other people think.
Right.
Right? So we have to take that out of our discernment and our decision making. And I mean, so, and then this rolls into number 5, find your therapy.
Yeah.
This is the self-care part.
Yeah.
Let's open up about that.
And that's another thing. It's going to look different for everybody, but you've got to find the tools that are going to help you. And for some people, that might be real therapy. Like, you may need a therapist and someone to talk to, and that is okay. And I give you full permission, whoever's listening, to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there's a stigma behind all of these things, right? For me, I love essential oils. I'm an essential oil girl. Yep. So, before I came in here, I rolled peace all over my body.
Yeah. That's an oil. Oh my.
And it helps me. It, like, something about it, I don't know if it's in my mind, which doesn't matter because it helps center me. It helps me feel that calmness so I can pray it out and connect with God.
That's the peppermint and the liang liang.
Yes, that's so good. It's such a good oil. Anyway, so this could be a bubble bath. This could be like nature, working out. I love to work out. I don't. Okay, let me take that back. I don't love to work out, but I love the way it makes me feel. And there's something about it. Those endorphins. My brain just works better when I work out 2 or 3 times a week, and I don't know. It just clears my mind. It helps me to achieve having a sound mind for things. So, I think that's important. So you've got to find what it is for you, or it's talking to your trusted friend. And it can't just be anyone. When you're in that spot and you're really struggling, it's got to be someone who is going to point you back to, for me, it's Jesus. So however that looks, whatever brings you peace in chaos, you've got to find it, and you've got to actively pursue doing those things.
You can't open up to somebody about your struggle who's also struggling, I think is what you're.
Yeah. Well, you can open yourself up, but maybe not go to them for the advice that you're seeking in that moment if you're both struggling with something similar, maybe. Yeah.
Or just think about the discernment and what you're saying.
Yes.
So here's the thing that I want to point out about this. There's a lot of different therapies that we could talk about, or that could be a whole show, right?
Yeah.
I think we have done a show. But so, when people ask you, when you're in this moment of fear or you're trying to overcome fear, and people are like, how do you take care of yourself? And sometimes you don't know how to answer that question. Like, if you are in a season of life, like if you have an infant, if you have, young children, whatever season of life that you're in, just do what you can right now.
Yeah.
You don't have to do all the things.
Right.
You can wake up and you can buy yourself one of those like head massagers, right? And that could just be part of like 30-second
Yeah.
therapy.
The
I mean, do
small
what
things.
you can with what you have
Yep.
right now. So just understand that, like, if you're in a particular season of life, you are in it. We have been there. We have done that. I am also in a particular season of life. And I had a friend today tell me they really are just seasons.
Yep.
When you're in them, they seem like they last forever, but they really are just seasons. So hold on to that if you're there. So these are all fantastic. I think everybody could take something away from these 5 things, but I want to know, how do you build your confidence? So like generally, or around this particular topic, like what does that look like for you?
For me, it boils down to one thing. It's doing the things that make you fearful.
Yeah. Really?
You have to.
Yeah.
The only way that you're going to, and again, it comes back to, it has to become almost a skill. You have to identify your fears. You have to figure out what they are and deal with them, and then move forward and do them scared. It's the only way. And then that journaling piece for me is a way that builds my confidence, because I go back and the thing that I was scared of ended up being so awesome. I had a friend who, on my 40th birthday, I'll never forget, she sent me this text message, and it was, happy birthday to my fearless friend. You do so much, and you do it fearlessly. And I was like, we've been friends since we were like 15. I'm like, you do not know me well then. Like, how in the world? Because I am not fearless. I am not fearless. I am full of anxiety and fear. Ask my husband. But I do the things, and I've done a lot of things with my life that kind of blow me away sometimes when I look back. But I do them scared. I don't let the fear keep me in a place where I can't move forward, because I know how important it is, whatever purpose God has for my life, that if I stay in the fear, it will, keep me stagnant. And so I just do the things scared. So do the things, do them often, and keep pushing yourself.
And what you're saying is it's okay to be scared while you do them.
Yes.
That's so good.
And if
Do them scared.
people keep telling me that like public speaking and stuff is going to get easier for me,
not.
it's not.
It's not.
It does not. There's always going to be some level of uneasiness about that for me. Now, when I get there and I start talking, I am fine. But beforehand, I've got to work on these 5 steps to get me there in one piece.
Yeah. And that's okay.
Yeah. It is okay.
That's okay, because you're still doing the thing.
Yep.
You're still doing it.
And that's all that matters at the end of the day, is that you did it.
So like so much of that is a control piece.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't come up with this term, but it's so good. Everything that you want is on the other side of fear.
Yes.
Okay, I want to give you guys a visual. Okay. Moana. Okay. Moana had to, in the reef, right? She had to get to the other side so that she could save the village.
Yeah.
And she had to face her fear and her father's fear of the reef.
Yeah.
And she did it. And then look what she did. She replaced the heart of Tafiti, and she restored all wellness in the whole village. So everything that you want is on the other side of fear. Keep that in mind.
That's good.
We could have named this topic the power of fear, I think.
Yeah.
I like the spirit of fear better because there's so much spirit behind it, but there is a certain power of fear. It drives courage, ambition, I think motivation. And if you let it, it'll build your faith.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We are not perfect. I don't want to be perfect. That's too much pressure. That's God's job. So keep that in mind too. We are not perfect beings. Jessame, how can people get a hold of St. Vincent? I mean, I know you guys have a website, a Facebook page.
We do. So the website is helpthehaven.org.
Okay.
So we're also on social media. So St. Vincent Haven is what you'll put in your search. And you can always reach out. Our emails are all listed on all of the sites, and phone numbers too, and ways to contact us.
Perfect. Do you guys have any upcoming events?
Well, we actually are expanding our shelter, which is very exciting. So we're going to be doubling our size. So that is expected to be complete in March. So we will be having a ribbon cutting ceremony.
Oh, fun. Okay, good.
The date is still a little bit in the air, but it should be the beginning of March.
So that's
we're very
fantastic.
excited. Yes.
It's been a really big year for you guys.
Yep.
What books and podcasts would you recommend? Generally
So
speaking,
many.
or just,
I just read a book, though, recently that had me bawling like 5 pages in because I was like, I felt so seen and was like, oh my goodness. So it's called Fighting Forward by Hannah, I'm going to butcher her last name, Brencher,
Okay.
Brencher. So good for someone that struggles with fear and anxiety. Fighting Forward. Just think about that. Oh, I think I highlighted like every single page, all of it. And then I listen to so many podcasts, so it really depends on the day for me. But 2 at the top of my list would be the Revive Our Hearts podcast.
Okay.
So good. So many tools on there. Oh my gosh. You could find a sermon to listen to every single day, and they're short, but they're full of so much wisdom. And then I listen to the Radical by David Platt podcast. If you really want to be pushed to change your life and to step out of fear, such a good one.
That is a really good one. It's also
hard.
It's also really hard. You're like, oh, that's me.
Yes.
I know I need to change.
But I love those like convicting, messages that he puts on there that really have me looking inward to see what can I do better or different or,
That's true.
radically for Jesus.
Yeah.
So
if
it's
you're
good.
really looking to open up, that's the one to go to.
For sure.
Last question, and I ask everybody this, but what's your greatest life hack?
Greatest
Greatest,
life
biggest.
hack. Oh, I don't know.
Do you need an example? Because I give
Yeah,
this
give me an
every
example.
month.
Okay, good.
The Kroger ClickList app. That's my great. It saves me 2 hours of my life. Now my children won't know how to grocery shop, but when they get older, that's going to be a problem.
That is a good one. I don't do the apps anymore. I can't do that. I have to go in the grocery store. Although Target is a close second to that. I do use the Target pickup. That is a good one. Life hack. I don't know.
I mean, I think you kind of gave us all 5 of them. I think
I'm like going super deep right now, and I'm thinking like, I don't really. Okay, I've got one.
Okay.
This is my life hack for many things.
Okay.
On Instagram, there is a lady, Brunch with Babs.
Okay.
Look her up.
Okay.
She has the most amazing recipes, and like she posts probably 3 or 4 life hacks a week. They're so good. She is adorable. So you won't be disappointed. Brunch with Babs. Trust me.
Brunch with Babs. Okay.
Yes.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.
This was a lot of fun. I really like this. And we will keep you guys posted when the next show releases will be and what the titles will be. So if you don't mind to, hang out with us for a little while and like and share and just tell us maybe like what you guys want to hear about in this next year. That would be awesome. So until then, you guys stay safe.